Zorro has disappeared. The masked vigilante who conquered millions vanished in Argentina after lost in space. But his daughter breaks the silence, secret money, hidden regrets, and a mysterious death ignored for a week. From a broke Italian model to a Disney star, from sword duels to intergalactic voyages. Guy Williams had it all, then left it all behind. But behind the mask, a colossal fortune, a secret scar, and a diabolical plan to live free. The explosive truth about his escape, his exile, and his final wish finally revealed. Give a thumbs up and subscribe before this legend disappears again. Guy Williams isn't just Zorro or Professor Robinson. He's the man who conquered Hollywood, then abandoned it. More than half a century after his television appearances, the actor and the characters he embodied are still adored. He exploded in the 1950s with Disney's Zorro series, followed in the 1960s with Lost in Space. Then, abruptly, he turned his back on everything. He disappeared in South America, letting the spotlights that had fascinated him so much fade away. What happened? His daughter Toni Williams finally confirms the rumors. He never wanted to be a prisoner of fame. He had a plan. And he followed it to the end. Armando Joseph Catalano was born on January 14, 1924, in Washington Heights, New York. His parents, Attilio Catalano, an insurance broker of Italian origin, and Clara Arcara Catalano, from Sicily, lived in relative poverty despite the family's dreams of grandeur. Attilio was the son of a prosperous timber operator in Messina, who had bought land in New Jersey, but the fortune dissipated with the Great Depression. The Catalano family lived in a modest apartment in a crowded building, surrounded by Italian immigrants who spoke Sicilian dialect at home. Armando, the youngest, grew up amid the smell of simmering tomato sauce and the neighbors' shouts. From childhood, he showed sharp intelligence, especially in mathematics. At public school 189, he solved complex equations before the others, impressing his teachers. But life wasn't easy. His father worked hard to feed the family, his mother sewed clothes to make ends meet. Meals were simple, bread often rationed, but love was there. Attilio told stories of Sicily, of vast forests, of lost wealth. Clara taught Armando resilience. In this country, anything is possible if you work hard. At George Washington High School, Armando started working to help. He served sodas at a local fountain, earning a few cents an hour, and already dreamed of a bigger world. His impressive physique, 6 feet 3 inches, broad shoulders, wavy black hair, drew eyes. Neighborhood girls whispered when he passed, boys envied him. He enrolled at the Peekskill Military Academy, a rigorous institution where he excelled at American football and chess. Military discipline forged him, dawn wake-ups, forced marches, strategy. There, he developed his love for fencing, a sport he would later practice passionately, training for hours with wooden swords in the academy courtyard. Instructors noticed, this kid has fire in his eyes. But his secret dream? To become an actor. He imitated movie stars in his bedroom mirror, recited lines from Casablanca, Gilda, films he saw at the neighborhood cinema for 10 cents. His mother, who had climbed the ranks to become an executive at a foreign film distribution company, was horrified. The movies are for fools. Follow your father, become an insurance broker. It's stable, respectable. No starvation, no rejection. Armando ignored the advice. At 6 feet 3 inches, with a photogenic face and magnetic presence, he knew he had something special. He saved every penny from his jobs for clandestine acting classes. World War II broke out in 1939, but Armando was too young to enlist immediately. He worked in the war industry starting in 1942. He welded aircraft parts in a noisy Long Island factory, where machine roar drowned out air raid sirens. He counted ration coupons for the government in a stuffy office, checking endless lists. He inspected aircraft engines to ensure they withstood combat in the Pacific or Europe. At night, he read Hollywood magazines, dreamed of spotlights, red carpets. He wrote letters to agents, but no replies. The war ended in 1945, and with it, a new era began for America. Soldiers returned, the economy boomed, television was born. Armando, now 21, sold luggage at Wanamaker's, a bustling New York department store. He wore tailored suits, smiled at ladies, sold leather suitcases. One day, on a whim, he sent photos to a local modeling agency. Immediate response, lightning success. His shots appeared in local newspapers, then national ones in Harper's Bazaar, on giant billboards in Times Square lit up at night, even on covers of romantic books sold in train stations. Photographers loved him, his dark, intense gaze, mysterious half-smile, imposing height dominating the lenses. He posed in tuxedos, swimsuits, but never shirtless due to a childhood scar, military uniforms for patriotic ads. Money finally flowed in. His agent, Henry Wilson, famous for launching Rock Hudson, Tab Hunter, and other Hollywood hunks, took him under his wing in 1945. Wilson was a marketing master. He changed names, sculpted images, sold dreams. Your name is too Italian, too ethnic. Studios want pure American, the WASP ideal. Change it or forget fame. Guido Armando became Guy Williams. A simple, sexy name, easy to sell, pronounce, display on posters. It was the era, pop culture historian Jeffrey Mark later explained in his books on Hollywood. You could be dark, seductive, have a charming accent, but not too foreign. Not too immigrant. Post-war America wanted clean, white, accessible dreams. Being Italian was okay for a gangster sidekick, not a hero. Guy accepted without hesitation. It was the price of fame, and he was ready to pay. In 1946, Guy signed a one-year contract with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, Hollywood's giant. Off to Southern California, the city of Technicolor dreams. He arrived with a worn suitcase, a few saved dollars, and devouring ambition. MGM put him under the lights for tests, makeup, lighting, dialogue. His first notable role came quickly. The B-29 Enola Gay Bombardier in The Beginning or the End, an ambitious docudrama on the atomic bomb's development, released in 1947. Guy appeared on screen alongside stars like Brian Dunleavy, credited, feeling fame close. But it was just a start. Subsequent roles were rare, minor, a soldier here, a passerby there. MGM, overwhelmed by established stars like Clark Gable or Spencer Tracy, let him go after a year. Disappointed but undeterred, Guy returned to New York in 1948, tail between his legs but head high. He knew Hollywood wasn't a sprint, it was a marathon. It was during a Marlboro cigarette ad shoot, skiing in Vermont's snowy mountains, under biting cold, that he met Janice Cooper. A model at the prestigious John Robert Powers agency, she was beautiful, blonde, elegant, with a smile that lit up the flashes. Instant love at first sight during long photo sessions under artificial snow. They talked for hours between takes, laughed at ridiculous poses, shared cold sandwiches. They married on December 8, 1948, in a small Italian church in the neighborhood, surrounded by family and model friends. 2 children soon followed. Stephen, later known as Guy Williams Jr., a lively, curious boy, and Tony Williams, a mischievous girl who both pursued modest but passionate acting careers. The family was united, happy, settled in a comfortable Manhattan apartment. Janice supported Guy through auditions, encouraged him when rejections came. In 1950, Guy participated in creating America's very first television commercials, a revolution. TV exploded, brands wanted faces. He posed, smiled, sold Lux soap, Ford cars, Chesterfield cigarettes with a charming accent. Tragically, his father Attilio died in 1951 of a heart attack, without seeing his son become famous. Guy mourned silently, attended the funeral in Little Italy, promised his mother he'd succeed to honor the family. He doubled his efforts, chaining theater auditions, radio, emerging TV. In 1952, Universal International offered him another one-year contract. Back to Hollywood, this time with wife and kids. He rented a small house in Burbank, near the studios. He chained small roles, low-budget westerns as sheriffs or bandits, dramas as the hero's friend, light comedies. He studied at New York's Neighborhood Playhouse during breaks, appeared in East Coast theater productions like off-Broadway plays. His work at CBS's Actors Workshop in New York earned him a role in a Studio One episode, a prestigious live drama. A screen test followed, then the universal contract. 20 minor film roles, but nothing significant. A pilot here, a sailor there. Guy waited for his moment, practiced fencing in the yard, read scripts until dawn. Janice encouraged, "Your turn will come." 1957 changed everything radically. Walt Disney, king of animation and now TV, sought an actor to embody Zorro in a new ABC series. The character, created by Johnston McCulley in 1919's The Curse of Capistrano, had been adapted to silent film by Douglas Fairbanks in 1920 and Tyrone Power in 1940. Disney wanted a charismatic, athletic Zorro, Hispanic yet accessible to American audiences. Hundreds auditioned. Guy Williams, with his 6 feet 3 inches height, expert fencing honed at the military academy and self-perfected, chiseled perfect face, was ideal. He auditioned with an exaggerated Spanish accent, rolling Rs like a bullfighter. Walt Disney, present on set in person, calmly said, "Tone it down a bit more, perfect." Guy adjusted day by day, found the right tone, elegant, mysterious, seductive, with just a hint of exoticism to charm without alienating. Zorro is set in Spanish California, 1820, just before Mexican independence and U.S. annexation. Don Diego de la Vega, wealthy heir to a hacienda, poses as a meek intellectual, scholarly, almost cowardly in the eyes of corrupt authorities. At night, he dons the black mask, cape, and becomes Zorro, the masked vigilante aiding poor Hispanic settlers, oppressed natives, peasants exploited by tyrannical, greedy leaders. He carves his signature Z with his sword, gallops on his horse Tornado, duels with grace and precision. Guy excelled in sword duels. He trained hours with Disney choreographers, horseback stunts, burning gazes under the mask. He had a scar on his left shoulder, a memento from a youthful football training accident, explaining why he was never seen shirtless on screen even in fight scenes. Disney insisted on family modesty. The series was produced with legendary Disney care, sumptuous velvet and silk costumes, authentic sets rebuilt in studio with miniature haciendas, rousing music by George Bruns, the same as Davy Crockett. Aired on ABC from 1957 to 1959, Zorro had 78 half-hour episodes and 4 one-hour specials. Each ended on a gripping cliffhanger, Zorro trapped, an innocent in peril, an unfinished duel, urging viewers to return next week without fail. The format became cult, foreshadowing modern binge-watching on platforms like Netflix. Immediate, worldwide, phenomenal success. Zorro aired in Europe, breaking records in France and Italy, in Latin America, where kids mimicked the Z in schoolyards, in emerging Asia. Toys flooded stores, plastic swords, black masks, capes, tornado figurines. Comics, books, records with the music. Guy became an international star, invited to Disney parades, signings. But he feared being typecast forever. "When I'm not Zorro, I'm Diego. It's like working on a movie you never finish. You can't conclude anything as an actor, no complete dramatic arc," he confided in an exclusive Longview Daily News interview. Disney wanted more episodes to capitalize. ABC refused to pay more for costly production. Tense legal battle between giants. Guy, under exclusive Disney contract, received his full generous salary but couldn't work elsewhere, film or other series. Growing frustration, he paced the set, repeating the same moves. Between Zorro and what followed, Guy briefly appeared in Bonanza in 1964. NBC's phenomenal westerns sought to replace Pernell Roberts as Adam Cartwright, who wanted out. Guy was cast as Will Cartwright, nephew to Lorne Greene's Ben Cartwright, planned as a regular to join the 4 main protagonists around the Ponderosa. He filmed 5 episodes, family intrigues, shootouts, horseback rides. But fans launched a massive letter campaign. "Keep Adam. Don't change the family." Thousands of letters flooded NBC. Producers, sensitive to the public, yielded and kept Roberts for another season. Guy's character was written out after just 5 episodes, with a quiet exit. Disappointment for Guy, but he kept his head high, smiled in interviews. It was a great experience. Zorro ended without an official 3rd season, only the 4 specials, Guy explored Europe to diversify. In 1962, he filmed Damon and Pythias in Italy, an epic peplum on the legendary friendship between two Greek philosophers, with togas, arenas, speeches. Then Captain Sinbad in Germany, a fantasy adventure with monsters, magic, swords, shot in CinemaScope. He collaborated with Disney on the three-part telefilm The Prince and the Pauper, Mark Twain's royal identity swap adaptation. When it's over, why rush back? My family and I stay in Europe, rent a villa in Italy, travel to Greece. I missed the entire US TV pilot season. But yachts in the Mediterranean, beaches, and Zorro rerun checks arriving from around the world. It's comforting, very comforting, he said in a relaxed 1965 Bristol Daily Courier interview on a boat. Guy invested wisely from his first Zorro earnings. Unlike many actors who squandered paychecks on Hollywood mansions, luxury cars, extravagant parties, and ended ruined when seasons stopped, he was realistic, almost visionary. Historian Jeffrey Mark notes, most waste it by properties they can't maintain. Guy saw it coming. He took his money and made it grow. Real estate in New York and California, solid stock market investments, worldwide syndication residuals from Zorro, Europe, Latin America, Asia. By the series' end in 1959, he was already a millionaire in era dollars, equivalent to tens of millions today. He no longer needed to work to live. His master plan took shape. Accumulate, invest, then total freedom when he wanted. Lost in Space arrived in 1965 as a perfect chance to break the Zorro mold. Created by Irwin Allen, TV sci-fi master, inspired by Johann David Weiss's 1812 Swiss Family Robinson but transposed to futuristic 1997 space. Guy played Professor John Robinson, patriarch of a family selected to colonize Alpha Centauri. Brilliant scientist, calm leader, protective father. With wife Maureen, June Lockhart, famous for Lassie, children Judy the studious eldest, Marta Kristen, curious middle child Penny, Angela Cartwright, genius youngest Will, Billy Mumi, pilot Major Don West, Mark Goddard, and stowaway saboteur Dr. Zachary Smith, Jonathan Harris, initially a cold villain. The iconic robot, played by Bob May in Suit, voiced by Dick Tufelt, cried, "Danger, Will Robinson! Danger!" The mission derailed at launch. Smith, sent by a foreign power, sabotaged systems. The Jupiter 2 spacecraft was flung off course. The crew was lost in infinite space, hopping hostile planets, vegetable monsters, belligerent aliens, cosmic storms, seeking a way back to Earth. Guy was the heroic leader, repairing machines, protecting his family, making vital decisions. Perfect to show post-**Zorro** versatility, more intellectual, paternal, less acrobatic. But mid-season 1, an unexpected turn. CBS, the network, wanted a lighter tone for Wednesday night family slot to attract kids after school. Progressive focus on the comic trio, scheming, cowardly Dr. Smith, innocent child Will, clumsy robot. John Robinson was sidelined, relegated to the background. 3 lines per episode, sometimes less. Total waste, Jeffrey Mark notes in his analyses. To be hired as a series lead and end up set dressing, it's cruel for an actor of his caliber. Guy never complained publicly, never in press or on set. Professional to the end, he discreetly shared concerns with Irwin Allen. In response, Allen added Robinson-centered scenes in some episodes, heroic repairs, motivational speeches, alien duels. But the damage was done. The series drifted to campy SF comedy. Lost in Space lasted 3 full seasons, 83 episodes total, until 1968. Huge audience success, especially with kids collecting Jupiter 2 toys and plastic robots. The series marked pop culture. Eternal reruns, conventions, modern reboots. But Guy was weary of Hollywood, its games, its constraints. At season 3's end, he was richer than his dreams, contractually free. He told loved ones, "I've had enough. No more playing pawns." In 1973, a casual invitation changed everything. Appear as Zorro at an Argentine festival. Guy accepted for fun, flew to Buenos Aires. Delirious, unimaginable welcome. Streets packed with hysterical fans. Kids dressed as Zorro, adults in tears. Zorro was a religion there, aired for 15 years, national hero. He extended his stay, signed autographs for hours, joined parades. Then decided to stay. Buenos Aires became his new home. He bought a modest but comfortable apartment in a quiet neighborhood, lived simply, far from Hollywood paparazzi. Why Argentina specifically? Mark Cushman, author of the authorized 3-volume Lost in Space biography, investigated for years. No one knows exactly. Zorro invitation, massive adoration that touched his heart. New local opportunities with the character, absolute peace far from US stress. Rare Hollywood offers after Lost in Space. He was typecast as comic SF. If there'd been a big film, he might have considered. But nothing. He chose freedom, life on his terms. Guy amicably divorced Janice in 1983 after 35 years of marriage, stayed close to children Steven and Tony, who visited often. In Argentina, he savored a fulfilling life. Participated in live Zorro theater shows, signed autographs in streets, enjoyed tranquility, cafes, soccer matches. He read a lot, played chess, invested more. Brief U.S. return in 1983 for a Family Feud reunion with the Lost in Space cast. Laughter, anecdotes, but he quickly returned. Guy died on April 30, 1989, of a sudden brain aneurysm in his apartment. Discovered only on May 6, a week alone. Tragic irony for such a sociable man. Thanks to Argentine actor Fernando Lupéaz, his ashes rest in Buenos Aires La Recoleta Cemetery, in the Argentine actors section, a rare honor for a foreigner. In 1991, Steven brought the ashes back, fulfilling the final wish, scattering over the Pacific Ocean at Malibu and in the California mountains, where Guy had skied in his youth. Guy Williams leaves an indelible eternal legacy. Zorro inspires generations of masked vigilantes, from Batman to Spider-Man. Lost in Space rebooted as a 1998 film and 2018 Netflix series. His daughter Tony, he lived on his terms. Free, inwardly rich, without regrets. What's your favorite memory of Guy Williams? The Z signature? The robot's cry? Comment below. Subscribe for more forgotten legends, more Hollywood secrets.